Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Broadway Buzz, the podcast where we talk all things theater, from the latest news to conversations with the people who bring these productions to life. I'm your host, Pierce Ream, and today I'm joined by Marcus Collick. Marcus is a theater artist whose work spans across acting, stage management, and live performance. He recently made his West End debut as a part of the groundbreaking production of Dracula alongside Cynthia Erivo. The show is credited for being monumental in blending live theater with cinematic technology. Before stepping onto the West End stage, Marcus built an impressive career across multiple areas of theater. His acting credits includes productions such as The Playwright at the Savoy Theater, Xana Dawn at Old Joint Stock Theater, Spring Awakening at Phoenix Art Club, and regional productions of Damn Yankees and White Christmas. He has also worked in stage management on productions including Murder on the Orient Express, Tick Tick Boom, and Limp Wrist, and the Iron Fist, and the Black Print 8. Marcus holds a master's degree in theater arts and has built a career centered around storytelling in many different mediums. Marcus, I just want to thank you so much for joining me today on Broadway Buzz. How's it going?
It's going good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for joining.
Of course.
I always like to start the podcast off just with a little intro. Do you just want to talk about yourself, how you got into theater?
Yeah. So, like you said, my name is Marcus, and I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland. And I spent, from growing up until I was in high school. And then when I left high school, I went to Kansas and got a bachelor's degree. I trained to be a teacher before I got into acting, and I taught first grade for 3 years. And then I moved to London in 2023 and have been here pursuing my dreams as an actor.
Nice. Yeah, you're currently working on a play in London, right? Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. Currently working on the play, stage managing the play called To Be You. It is a one-woman show about a girl who ends her engagement to a man that she thought that she loved, and is basically just trying to figure out what life is going to be like now. Processing through, the disappointments from her parents because they really loved the man and thought that the wedding was going to go ahead. But also, one of her best friends, and trying to figure out what that relationship is now, with her best friend and her ex-fiance. And so it's a beautiful, beautiful play, and I'm very, very excited to let audiences see it this coming August. So it's gonna be fun.
Nice. Your
Yeah.
career is taking you through acting, stage management, education, and now you're working in the West End. Um, what drew you to exploring so many different aspects of theater?
It kind of just happened. I always knew that I wanted to be an actor. But somebody told me a long, long time ago that yes, you can be an actor, but you always have to have a backup plan because sometimes acting is not going to always pay the bills. And so I took that with me into starting my career in the theater, and kind of just started to pick up little side jobs. I got into stage managing because one of my friends, E-Man, wrote a play and asked if I wanted to be the stage manager on it. I said yes. And from that, I've been able to do some other stage management work. I've done some producing. I've also done some production assistant work. And so I basically have seen every side of theater that you can see. And it's been a wild journey. Been a wild journey, but it's been great.
Yeah, what is like one thing you think actors can learn from stage managers, and what's one thing you think stage managers can learn from actors since you've been on both sides?
Yes, I would say actors can learn from stage managers that without a stage manager, your show is not going to go ahead and not be seamless and be technically clean because stage managers are the people that, are handing you your props, are moving the set, calling all the cues that you need for like your lights and the sound. And so without stage managers, really you have basically no show. I mean, you can do the show, but you won't have like all the bells and whistles that come along with the live experience. But also, I think stage managers can learn from actors, that yes, all we're doing is, singing and dancing, but it's not as easy as it looks. You have to have stamina and have to be able to sustain that for 2.5 hours, eight times a week. And so um, that's something that I feel like stage managers can learn from actors, but also, actors can learn as well that just because stage managers are moving your set and all that kind of stuff, there's a whole bunch of stuff that happens when the show is not going on in terms of like the paperwork and the things that stage managers have to do. Like I didn't know how much paperwork there was in order to be a stage manager. Now that I am one, I'm just like, wow, what have I got myself into?
Yeah.
And there's like a lot of safety things that you have to know, and you have to know all the equity rules because you have to make sure that everybody is abiding by them. And it's a lot. It's a lot, but it's good work. It's good work.
Yeah. That's nice about how you brought up having a backup plan, but it's still like within the theater world, so it's not like you're really leaving.
Absolutely, it's great.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about Dracula? Congratulations on your West End debut.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. You know, Dracula was wild. Let's just say that. First of all, getting to be scene partners with Cynthia Erivo. Not many people can say that, but I can, and that's probably one of the biggest flexes that I have in my career so far, and it's great. But you know, I wasn't even going to do Dracula. Um, the audition came through, and they were looking for actors that can move, and I really wasn't going to put my name for it because I was like, well, I don't really want to do camera work. But then I remembered that Jamie Lloyd has lots of cameras in the shows that he does. And I was like, you know what, Marcus, just go. Just go, because you never know what's going to happen. So I went, auditioned, and got a call back. And then I would say, like, maybe a month later, or maybe even longer, um, I got the call that I got the job. And I was like, oh, so I actually did something well in the audition. And then when I got there on the first day of rehearsal, I was like, what is this going to be like? I don't know if you saw any of like the production pictures or any like rehearsal shots, but um, when I walked in, they had like the stage set of how it was going to be, and so on the floor there was about 600 different spike marks on the floor, all multicolored, labeled different things, and I was like, what does all this mean? But then I realized, you know, it was where either a camera needed to be, where camera operators needed to stand, where set pieces needed to be, where Cynthia was going to be, and where pre-recorded characters were, so that Cynthia could know, like, where to look. And it was wild. It was such a crazy experience to be able to um, learn the camera because I didn't know anything about a camera. I took pictures back in the day, but I never done anything like this before. So learning all of the things that I learned on the job was kind of cool, but it also was stressful. Because what most people don't realize is when we were live in person, we had to not only get the shot correct, but we had to make sure that the gain was right. We had to make sure that the focus was right. We had to make sure that, you know, the tilt was correct. It was just a whole bunch of stuff that you had to remember. I probably say my brain has grown about 10 sizes since doing Dracula. Um, just because all the things I had to remember, it was crazy insane. And if you asked me to do the show today, having been out of it for over a month now, I probably wouldn't be able to do it because I'm like, will I remember everything? Because it was a whole bunch of stuff. But it was such a great experience. And if they bring it to Broadway, which I hope they do, I would go. I would go
Yeah.
and do it.
What was that rehearsal process like? Like, did they just hand you the camera or did you have like classes to like learn all the different aspects? What was that?
No, the first day of rehearsal, they were like, here's the camera, and we're going to start from the top of the show. Let's go. And I was like, what do you mean we're starting from the top of the show? I don't even know what the show looks like. What do you even want me to shoot? Like, what? And then from there, we literally just went scene by scene, shot by shot. And Kip, our director, basically was just like, this is what we did in Sydney because they did the production in Sydney before they brought it to the West End. And he was like, but this is how we're going to adapt it for Cynthia. Um, but it also was so cool and so collaborative because Kip was like, yes, this is what I want, and this is what the frame reference should be like. But I want to see what you are seeing. And I want you to try to get as close to the shot as possible, but I want you to put your little spin and your take on it. And so it was cool to be able to like see the shot that he wants, but also give a little bit of myself into it, which was nice. Um, but yeah, and then we rehearsed for about 2 weeks, learning the show, learning our tracks, and then we went into filming all the pre-records, which took a long time, about 3.5 weeks is what we did for the pre-records, which was probably the most craziest experience I've ever had because we had to do it on a film set. So, um, but it was wild and crazy and stressful and sad and joyful and all the things that you could ever think of. We felt in that 3.5 weeks, and then went back into the rehearsal room to put it all together, and then tech the show, and then opened. And then before you know it, we were taking the final bell, and I was like, "Dang, that went by quick."
Yeah, it was a limited run. Do you want to
Yeah.
talk about opening night? How was opening night? Do you have any memorable moments?
Oh, opening night was so it was so surreal because in the show we have a PTZ that is like camera that flies in and out from the ceiling, but that camera also shows us the audience. And so before the show, we were able to see like who was sitting in the audience and like seeing the people that walking in. But on press night, we were seeing like literally so many celebrities. Florence Pugh was in the audience, and we were watching her on the screen. Almost all the cast of Wicked was there, except for Cynthia and Michelle Yeoh. Um, and just all these people that I have looked up to were in the audience for press night. And I was like, this is scary because what if I mess up? What if I fall? What if I trip? But then all that adrenaline just helped me in my performance. And before I knew it, we were taking our bow, and the audience's applause was something like I have never felt and never heard and never experienced before in my entire life. And any show that I've ever done, I've never had that response before. And it was so heartwarming and just so like, so special. That's a core memory that I'm going to have and keep for the rest of my life. Like, it was insane. But it did happen so quickly. I would say that. I would say that. Personal life
Right.
was a whirlwind, but I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it.
Um, Moving on from Dracula, I read that seeing Memphis on Broadway when you were younger had a huge impact on you because you saw performers who looked like you represented on stage. Could you talk about that experience and how it shaped your relationship with theater?
Yeah, so I went to a school, Wacomico High School, shout out to them, home of the Indians. My choir teacher, Mr. Bear, took our choir every spring semester to New York City to see a show. And the first year that I was able to go was the year that they went to see Memphis on Broadway, which had Montego Glover in the leading role. Um, and before the show, we had a talk back with some of the cast and some of the crew from the show. And basically, they were, just explaining their journey to Broadway and their journey to theater. Um, and just explaining, like, if we wanted to do it, these are the steps that we needed to do in order to get to where they were. And it was cool to be like, oh my gosh, these Broadway actors, these people that are getting ready to perform for us have taken the time out to, like, encourage us and give us some advice, and that was just so cool. But that wasn't even the most impactful. The most impactful was seeing the show and seeing so many people that looked like myself on stage, represented in such a beautiful story. Memphis is just a beautiful story of love and acceptance, regardless of your skin color, regardless of your background. But just to see so many people that look like me on stage, I was like, wow, I need to do that, and I want to do that. And I end up, choosing that as a career and living that out. But I had never seen that before because all the shows that I had seen previously, I didn't see myself represent on those stages. And so to see that, I was like, wow, if they can do it, I can do it too. And so it was crazy insane to see that. And Memphis will always be one of my favorite shows in the entire world because I love it so much. I love it.
Yeah, that is important for people to see representation like that. And even in London, like for people to be going to see Dracula and see you on stage like that, they can see themselves and look up to you. How does that feel to think about that little kids are looking up to you now the way that you were looking up to people in Memphis?
I know it's crazy, insane. We had a school group come, and basically some of the kids were like, I don't think I ever want to be an actor, but I know that I probably could do something with the camera. And so I was able to bring them backstage and show them the camera, show them like, what we did with the camera. And so just seeing the joy on their faces that they may not have known that they could do camera work in a theater because, most shows that you see don't use cameras, but it's starting to become more of a thing now. Um, so just seeing their faces and seeing like, a light bulb go off on their head saying like, yes, I might not want to do an actor, but there's so many different elements of theater that I could possibly do to still, be in a theater. And so to be that inspiration for others is kind of crazy, kind of insane. But I'm grateful that I'm in a position to be able to do that because I've had so many mentors and so many people do that for me. And so all I can do is just give back to the ones coming after me.
Yeah. For any people who are listening who want to take a career in theater, what advice would you give young performers?
I would say if you are very passionate about it, don't second guess yourself. Do it. Do it, do it, do it. Because if you start to second guess yourself, you'll never do it. So that's the first thing I would say. The second thing that I would say is you have to train. You have to train. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to go to school to do it. Yes, school will give you the easy I mean, it's not easy, but it already has everything that you need to do laid out for you. But there are other avenues that you can get your training. You can just go to dance classes, you can take voice lessons, and skip out and paying thousands of dollars going to school for it. But training is important because if you don't have the training to be able to sustain for 8 shows a week, you're not gonna make it. You're not gonna make it, and you're gonna struggle. So get that training. And then I also would just say, have fun. Theater is so much fun, and there is a lot of pressure to it because it is professional and you are held to a certain standard, but you can have fun within those limits. And so, yeah, those are the things that I would say to people that want to do theater.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that was really good. As we wrap up, do you have anything additional that you want to say just as at the end of the episode?
Um, Support theater because theater is dying. So go buy a full price ticket to the shows, take a chance on new work. You know, yes, support the shows that have been running for a long time, but go to the ones that you may not know about, the ones that may not interest you. Buy a ticket because we are losing so many incredible shows and it's sad. So support the art, support live theater.
Yes. Do you also want to tell us where people can find you online?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram. You can find me um, you can find me on Blue Sky, even though I feel like no one uses Sky really. You can find me on X, even though I really don't use X, but I do post some things there. And if you're an oldie, you can find me on Facebook.
Nice, perfect. Here, do you want to say your Instagram at so people can find you?
Yeah, my Instagram at is at Marky Mark,
There you go.
like Marky Mark and the Funky
Yeah,
Bunch.
it's underscore MARKYYYMARK underscore.
Underscore,
Yeah, there you go.
yes.
So make sure to follow him on Instagram. Marcus, thank you so much for joining me today. Your journey obviously shows that there are so many different ways that you can build a life within the theater, whether it's performing on stage, managing a production, being behind the camera on the stage, which is creating something completely new. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences with us, giving us a look behind the scenes of Dracula, and talking about your journey as an artist. Thank you again for joining me on Broadway Buzz.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Thank you.
Of course.